Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. This time, we're going deep into the world of Ninth Wonder.
Oh yeah, he's a legend.
Seriously. Producer, DJ, professor, cultural ambassador. Is there anything this guy can't do? You guys sent in some amazing stuff, interviews, a documentary, articles.
It's really a fascinating mix.
I was blown away by how much there is to uncover, so we'll try to cover as much as we can.
Definitely.
All right, so first things first. Where does Ninth Wonder's story even begin?
Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Born Patrick Douthit.
Winston-Salem. Wow, that's a long way from, like, the world of Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Right. It's a pretty incredible journey when you think about it.
It really is. Okay, so small-town beginnings. What else? What kind of kid was he?
Well, his family was really into music. Think gospel.
Okay, classic Southern roots.
Yeah, but then his uncle was the one who got him into Marvin Gaye.
Whoa, interesting mix. Gospel and Marvin Gaye, that's got to shape your sound.
For sure. That foundation is huge.
You can hear those influences in his beats, that soulful vibe, you know?
Absolutely. And get this, he was a total band geek.
No way, like marching band geek?
Oh yeah. Started with clarinet, then drums.
Seriously?
Yep. By the time he hit 8th grade, he could play like 7 instruments.
That's wild. I guess all that training comes in handy when you're producing, huh?
Definitely. It's not just pushing buttons, it's understanding the music, the theory behind it.
That's true, it all connects. So how did he go from band geek to, like, the hip-hop mastermind we know today?
It's actually pretty cool. He was always messing around with different sounds, right? Went from clarinet, drums, and then he got into keyboards.
Okay, so always searching for new sounds.
Exactly. But the big aha moment, he realized all this hip-hop he loved was sampling 70s records.
Oh, wow, like discovering a secret code.
Right, and it just clicked for him. He became obsessed with finding those original sounds, spent hours digging through crates of vinyl.
So he was like an archaeologist of sound, unearthing these lost gems.
Exactly. And those gems, that digging, it led him to form Little Brother.
Oh, yeah. Little Brother. With Fonte and rapper Big Pooh.
Yep. They started in Durham, North Carolina. Their first album, The Listening, it's a classic.
Classic is right. I remember hearing it for the first time.
Game changer. And they recorded that whole thing in a bedroom on speakers that didn't pan.
Wait, what? No panning? So, like, he couldn't separate the sounds to the left and right?
Nope. It forced him to get really creative with his mixing, using EQ and effects to give the music space.
That's crazy. It must have been a challenge.
Totally. But it also gave his sound this unique quality. It's almost like claustrophobic, but in a good way.
You know, when you think about it, The Listening was like a breath of fresh air back then. It influenced so many artists.
Absolutely. So many people cite them as an influence. It's amazing.
Okay, but then the split. Little Brother broke up. It wasn't like the usual band drama, though, was it?
No, not at all. It was more about growth, personal journeys. Sometimes people need to step away to figure things out.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. But the good news is, Ninth and Fonte actually reconciled later on.
That's awesome. I love a good reconciliation story.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of things, Ninth is passionate about sampling. He's like the champion of sampling as an art form.
He is, and he doesn't shy away from defending it.
I read that he gave a whole talk at Harvard about it.
A colloquium, yeah. And he wasn't just talking to students. This was with Henry Louis Gates Jr.
Wow, that's a big deal. What was his argument?
Basically, he was saying sampling isn't stealing. It's about recontextualizing, taking something existing and making it new.
It's like building on what came before, like jazz musicians, they riff off each other's ideas.
That's a great comparison. He even talked about how blues musicians did the same thing, creating variations on melodies and themes.
It's a conversation, right? Across generations, across genres.
Exactly. And he's bringing these older sounds to new audiences who might never have heard them otherwise.
And keeping that music alive. Okay, so we've got to talk about the Jay-Z story. It's almost like a hip-hop fairy tale, right? It is. So picture that he's at Jay-Z's place playing him beats, 29 beats. And get this, Beyonce is just casually chilling on the couch.
Stop. Seriously, Beyonce was just there. Like, it was no big deal.
Well, it was before they were, like, officially a couple. But still, it's pretty wild.
I can't even imagine. What was the vibe like? Was he nervous?
He's said Jay-Z had a total poker face for those 29 beats. No reaction, nothing.
Oh, man, that's got to be nerve-wracking.
Right, but then suddenly Jay-Z starts nodding his head.
Finally.
And he starts naming tracks he likes, giving Ninth's feedback, and even challenging him.
Ooh, like a test.
Totally. One of the challenges was to flip an R. Kelly sample in, like, 20 minutes.
20 minutes? That's intense.
Ninth pulled it off, of course, and the track became Threat.
Threat.
It's on Jay-Z's The Black Album.
Yeah, such a good album.
Really put Ninth Wonder on the map. That's when things really started taking off from.
From a bedroom studio to working with Jay-Z, it's insane. I read he even got a Grammy nomination for Mary J. Blige's The Breakthrough album.
He did. Best R&B album. Pretty amazing. But here's the thing with Ninth. Even with all that success, he never forgot where he came from.
What do you mean?
He always goes back to his roots.
Yeah.
Like he's a big believer in education. He actually lectures at North Carolina Central University.
No way. Seriously.
Yep. And at Duke, too. He teaches a course called Sampling Soul.
Wait, sampling soul? That sounds amazing. What do they do in that class?
They actually break down how samples are used in hip-hop. It's not just about the music, though. It's about history, culture, how art evolves.
That's so cool. It's like taking something familiar and seeing it in a whole new light.
Totally. He's trying to, show people that hip-hop deserves to be studied. It's a legitimate art form.
I totally agree. And you mentioned he wants to work with the school board. That's a pretty big goal. Do you think it's even possible to, integrate hip-hop into traditional education?
It's a challenge, for sure, but he's passionate about it. He sees hip-hop as a way to connect with younger generations, to teach them about history and culture. It's not all about textbooks.
True. And speaking of making connections, did we talk about his connection to Kevin Durant?
We haven't yet, but it's a great story. Durant has a Nike shoe, the KD15, and there's a special edition.
I've seen them.
Yeah, it's called the Charles Dofit edition.
Named after Ninth's dad.
Exactly. It's crazy how his influence reaches far beyond music.
It really is. And it makes you think, all these different worlds, music, sports, fashion, they're all connected in a way.
Totally.
But let's not forget about one of the most important parts of his life.
Yeah.
Family.
Right. He's talked a lot about finding a balance between his career and being a dad. He has 3 kids.
It's a lot to juggle.
Definitely. He said that early on he missed some milestones with his oldest son because of work.
Oh, that's got to be tough.
It was a wake-up call for him. He realized he needed to prioritize family more.
Makes sense. You can get so caught up in the hustle.
For sure. But he made a change. Now he even has a studio at his house.
So he can be close to the family while he's working. That's awesome.
It's all about finding that balance, right, between chasing your dreams and being present for the people you love.
So true. It's something we all struggle with, I think.
And it's cool. He's said that watching his kids be creative has inspired him to stay connected to his own inner child.
Ah, I love that.
It's a good reminder. No matter how successful you get, it's important to hold on to that sense of wonder.
Absolutely. So going back to his music for a second, what makes a Ninth Wonder beat so recognizable? What's his signature sound?
It's hard to describe, but once you hear it, you know it.
I know what you mean. There's this warmth to his music.
Right. It's that blend of soulful samples, those chopped up drums,
Oh.
and that groove. It's undeniable.
It's like he takes you back in time, but in a fresh way.
Yeah.
And he's super efficient in the studio, right?
Right.
I read that he can make multiple beats in an hour.
It's true. Some producers have said he doesn't even listen to the whole sample sometimes. He just goes with his gut.
Wow, that's crazy. Like pure instinct.
And it's funny. His snare drum sound is so iconic that when he tries something different, people actually miss it.
Really?
Yeah. It's like they've come to expect that sound. It's become part of his identity as a producer.
That's amazing. And his sound has allowed him to work with so many different artists, from Drake to Beyonce to underground rappers.
He doesn't see those as separate worlds, though. He said that good music is good music, no matter the genre.
I love that. It's like breaking down those barriers.
Exactly. It goes back to his whole true school philosophy, right?
Yeah.
It's not about being stuck in the past. It's about appreciating the roots of music.
Okay, explain true school again for anyone who missed it.
Imagine that feeling you get when you hear a song that just takes you back to a specific time. Maybe your childhood, high school, whatever. That's the essence of true school. It's that deep connection to music from a certain era.
It's about authenticity, right? Understanding where it all came from.
Yeah, exactly. And it applies to more than just music.
That's true. Okay, so we've talked about his music, his teaching, his family, his impact on culture. But what about Ninth Wonder, the person? What drives him? What are his core values?
He's just a real dude,
Yeah, I get that sense.
At his core, he values authenticity, being true to yourself, where you come from, and he's all about dedication to his craft, his family, his community.
It's inspiring, right? He didn't let anyone put him in a box. He made his own path.
Totally. And he's always giving back, mentoring new artists, collaborating.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to share the spotlight.
Yeah, I've noticed that. He's always shouting out other artists, producers he respects. It's not about ego with him. It's about the music.
Like, it's about community.
Yeah.
And, goes back to what we were saying before about staying true to yourself. Point Ninth Wonder is a perfect example of that. He didn't let anyone tell him what he could or couldn't do. He just went for it.
It's a good reminder for all of us, right? Like, you don't have to follow a set path. You can create your own.
Yeah, don't be afraid to break the mold. And remember, success isn't always a straight line. There are going to be bumps along the way.
Speaking of bumps, we talked about how he missed some things with his son because of his career. It makes you think even someone as successful as Ninth Wonder has those moments.
It happens to everyone. It's not about being perfect. It's about learning from those experiences and growing.
So true. And Ninth never stopped learning, right? He kept pushing himself, experimenting, evolving.
Exactly. And that's something we can all do, no matter what we're passionate about. Stay curious, keep learning, and don't be afraid to take risks.
I love that. It's like embracing that lifelong learner mindset.
Yes, we all have our own unique samples, our own blend of influences and experiences that have shaped us.
It's like our own personal sound library.
And like Ninth Wonder, we can take those samples and create something new and beautiful. Find our own voice. Share it with the world.
That's such a great way to put it. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Ninth Wonder, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I hope they feel inspired. Inspired to explore music, to create something themselves, to dig a little deeper into their own passions,
I love that. And remember, like Ninth Wonder says, knowledge is knowing where you come from. So go out there, explore your roots, and let your creativity flourish.
That's what it's all about.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll catch you next time.